Hello everyone, welcome to part 6, I believe, of the Luthier's Lair series concerning the build of the GazzBass Falcon Bellissimo Series 2 Franco di Donato signature model. I think I got the pronunciation right there again. Yes, this week it's going to be a bunch of stuff, lots of necky stuff in this week's episode. So before we go any further, I'd like to say, let's get on with it. Let's go further. Yeah, okay. Sod it. Let's go. Come on. This way. Hey, well, as you saw, I started the paint job, and it's been about 24 hours since the first two coats were put on, the fade coat and the solid coat. And of course I just freehand faded the solid coat into the fade, and so far it's turned out okay. There's a couple of imperfections in the filling in the wood, but we can fix that. The next stage will be to wait till the paint's dry, which should be tomorrow, and we'll flat sand it or scuff sand it and do the little tiny repairs that we need to do to it. There's a couple of dust nibs in there, that's easy to get rid of. Better getting rid of it right now before going forward. So I have a number of products that I use for that sort of thing. First of all, to scuff off a surface, I'll use these 3M pads, which are similar to Scotch-Brite. This one's like medium, so you'll get, maybe if you scuff lightly, you'll get a maybe 600 grit style scuff finish on there, because we want to take it back to matte. We're going to take the base back to matte because it's going to get a catalyzed polyurethane clear coat on it anyway. So, and there's the usual Scotch-Brite, which are awesome as well for scuff sanding and stuff. We have the foam pad Scotch-Brite, which may have something in it. I'm going to test this out in a piece of wood. I just bought these to see what they would be like, because I usually use just the plain pads, but this one's nice and soft and contoured. Also, sanding sponge. This is actually a sponge with like kind of a 600 grit paper over it. I like to rough polish frets with these. That's very good for that. And of course, you can go the old-fashioned way and use sandpaper, which is always an option. Use flexible sanding blocks, you know, and for curved areas use a pencil eraser, just to, you know, figure that in there. But before doing anything to the surface, you make sure it's clean. Now, to do that, you should use a wax remover and degreaser type of cleaner. If you don't have that, and most people don't have that kicking around usually, use Windex. Your Windex has a number of uses, and amazingly you can actually clean windows with them as well, with it. So that's all good. Oh, just before I leave this segment, I'll show you that the bend well has been cut in the neck, as you can see there, and a nice scoop finish with a rounded router bit and level sanded. So this is going to be beautiful when the fretboard is attached. I'll give that another bit of height up to about here, so you're going to like have half an inch of bend there, which is more than enough usually. I don't want to take too much off the neck here because I will compromise its integrity. So that's all done. So this is ready to get glued up basically. I'm just waiting on the epoxy inlays on the first fret to dry. I'll show you that quickly. Now you can see here, looks like a glob of mess, but it's not. This is white mother of pearl. Top here, Franco's name, and bottom here. And for the word signature, I put in a nice aqua blue glitter effect, so we've got a contrast here, and that should pick up the light really nicely. I don't know if you can see that in this light. Yeah, there you go, there you go. So once that's all sanded down using some of these products here, that will look spectacular. The LEDs are already working, and we're nearly ready to start making the neck, which only takes about a day or two really to make the neck. So this will be something to do while I'm waiting for paint and clear coat to dry, and then we'll begin the flat sanding of the body. By the time that's done, I'll be able to paint the neck, which takes much less paint and should take much less paint. Why? Well, because when you're playing, you don't want your hands sticking on a thick clear coat, right? I'm going to go for a satin finish. I'll verify that with Franco, and we did discuss it, but I would like to go with a satin clear coat finish for the back of the neck, because you just can't get your hand up and down the fretboard. If you're playing, you know, when it's hot, you tend to sweat, then you're not going to be able to move your hand quick enough. Anyway, next video you see will probably be me level sanding the first paint job. Okay, catch you soon. So, just had a visit from the mailman. Yes indeedy. What did he bring me today? Well, he brought me some 5,000 grit high quality hook and loop sanding paper. This is for the polishing process. I'm going right the way on the clear coat. I'm going right the way up to 5,000, so that when I use my Norton's liquid ice, it's going to buff up very nicely. Some mylar tape. What's so special about mylar tape? Well, it's sanding resistant. So the Franco's logo on the first fret is almost ready to sand down and polish. So I'll be needing some of this to protect the fretboard wood. Just put that on the places I don't want to sand, and I'm golden. Yes. New heavy duty fret wire cutters. My other ones were getting old. They were dulling. I didn't fancy sharpening them up again. I'm going to get a nice new pair. So I was needing this. And finally, the scariest stuff on earth. Yes. Catalyzed polyurethane. That looks nice and healthy, doesn't it? Look at all the lovely warnings on there. Now, this will be the first time I've ever used this, and I'm going to give it a test spray first, but the shelf life of this is, let's see, it says 48 hours on this, but I don't believe that. As soon as the catalyst is in there, you got 2 days to use this, or else it's screwed. Okay, and these are not cheap. So I'm going to do a test piece, and it's going to be outside as well, in a shelter outside, sheltered from the wind, that is, insects. And it will be probably, I'm hoping it's going to be early Sunday morning or Monday morning, which is like 5 or 6 days away from now, once the paint is done. And it has to be outside with a respirator on as well. Now, I've been looking at the weather forecast, and we are in South Florida. Today is going to be 88 Fahrenheit and high humidity, so you can't spray in that. But Sunday morning, Monday morning, around about then, it's going to be in the mornings, it's going to be in the low to mid 70s, which is ideal temperature for this, and the humidity is going to be pretty low, like 45–50%, which is ideal, and no wind, no rain, no nothing. So that looks like the time I'm going to be spraying this stuff. This stuff hardens very quickly, maybe a couple of days, and I will have to flat sand this in a couple of days, up to 5,000 grit. I'll start maybe, depending on what the job turns out like, I might have to start off at 800 or 1,000, but then I'll work my way up, not too many grits in between, up to 5,000, then the body will be ready to polish. So looking forward to that. I'm looking at, everything goes to plan, it will be about 10 days from now when the base will be ready for final assembly, which is bang on time. It's bang on time. Today is the is it the 3rd today? 3rd of March 2021. So the 13th, 14th of March, hopefully we're at final assembly. That gives me a clear week to do stress tests and everything, because the base was, we agreed with, myself and Franco agreed that it will take 6 weeks, everything going perfectly. Everything hasn't gone perfectly because of the delivery of the bridge being so long. But it looks like I still might make the 6-week deadline. I had said 6 to 8 weeks, and I hope that's good enough. If I can get it done in 6, and it takes maybe a week to ship to Franco, we're good, we're golden. He gets it before April, and I put April in the serial number. Well, it'll stay there. So, anyway, let's get on with it. Okay folks, I just scrubbed away excess epoxy on the, get this out of the way, sorry, on the logo on the first fret, and it's starting to look nice. I gave it a very rough polish down to like, that's about 1,000 grit right now. It's going to go all the way up to 5,000. But there's no point in doing any more to it right now until the neck is done. And then we'll detail that in. But already at 1,000 grit you can see it sort of shimmers. Not in this light though. Wait a minute, see if I can put a flashlight on it. I don't know what that looks like. You can see it glare. There's still polishing compound and stuff in there. But like I say, the neck has to be finished. I'm going to put more sealer on the neck. I put sealer on this first fret to be able to do this. There are marks in there where there's polish still. That's easily removed. You just scrape all that out, fill it back in. Fine work, of course, but it's done. It's doable. There is polish inside the lettering as well, which is indicative of tiny little pot marks in there, which will be buffed out. Anyway, what I should do really then, if I'm being honest and in all honesty, is maybe turn the LEDs on, see what it looks like. Hold on, I'll go and grab a battery. Alright, So let's see. Let's turn the LEDs on. Let's see what we got. Zoom out a little bit. Yeah, that looks nice. That's looking okay. As you can see, the kind of headstock, I guess, is made with all the string holes drilled in and the attachment site drilled in for the headstock. That's the curve of the bend well. As you can see, you got a clear, it's like 0.6 of an inch to push the string down. That will raise it up by maybe a semitone or more, depending on what gauge of strings you're playing. This bass is going to be specifically designed for lighter gauge strings, which is what Franco plays, and I'm going to actually design the bass to that. So a nice little scoop route there, and perfectly flat across here. A lot of material to come away from here still, but you can get the idea. You get the idea there. And the neck, of course, it has been radiused to 16 inches per Franco's specification. I find that a lot of slap basses, myself included, like a flatter radius on the bass. Mark King, such and such, they all like the flat radius. But these LEDs have that white bluish colour to them. It's so awesome. I'm looking forward to completing this bass. I really am, and it's pretty close now. I guess right now, if there are no hold-ups or errors or mistakes or things like that, we're about under 2 weeks maybe away from a finished product. We'll see. It's looking good. We shall see. Anyway, on to the next. Well, guys, it's getting kind of late in the day here. We're here. It's about 8 PM. That's okay. Let's keep going on. Now the truss rod is in the neck now. As you can see, it fits really well. But just to make sure, I'm going to take this little wafer of wood here and put it there, and I'm going to go just a little knob down just along its neck. Just to make sure. Yeah, I feel now that's the truss rod. So what I've got to do is I've got to straighten the truss rod really flat so that the neck fits. The fretboard fits on top of the neck. You know, I don't want it bowed or not bowed when I'm gluing the neck. That'd be stupid, right? So I'll go in here and I'll loosey goosey, lefty loosey, righty tighty. So lefty loosey. It's alright. And again. And there we go. Now it's flat. It's flat. Okay? So make sure it's all. Oh, it's actually not. Whoa! That's really strange. Hold on. That's going the wrong way, guys. There you go. That's it. Fine. Okay. Alright. Now, when it comes to putting the fingerboard on here, on a fretboard, as it will be, as you can see, that's the back where all the routing was done, with the LEDs, the circuit in there. We've got to take the negative wire, which is green actually in this case, because I ran out of black wire. But green's ground in any case, and I know that's negative anyway, so I'll place that around there. I will hot glue that in place, and then I'll put red at this end. Can you see that? I don't know. I'll put red at this end so I know that's the positive side, and then that'll come here. I'll line it up with the lines I made. It will get sculpted out and that'll get clamped down, and that'll be 24 hours, and I'll be ready to sculpt the neck. Yes, I will. Isn't that crazy? It's nuts. Modern glues, you can't beat them. Oh no, you can't. So, that's what it's all about. Let's get to it. Cracking. Hey folks, well, it's getting late in the day. It's about, let me see, 10 PM here. I've been up since 5 AM. I'm ready to glue this in. No, I'm not. No. Look, it's like a doctor. If you have to do something really precise, like stick a fretboard to a neck, especially for such an esteemed and important client as I'm doing this for, then it's going to wait till tomorrow. You know why? Because in 8 hours time I'll be up and I'll be fresh and I'll be aligning this properly and it'll get glued. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to sleep on it. Yes. Anyway, good night and see you in a bit. Actually, a couple of seconds. Okay folks, we're starting to do the neck carve now. And what we need for this is my rat tail rasp, my Shinto, and then an assortment of finer files for detail work. So the first thing to do is decide what the transition points of the neck are going to be. Now for this one I've got the middle of the first fret. I have rasped out a trough here, and right up near the like the 17th fret here, 18th fret, I've rasped out another trough. Now, the thickness of the neck here is going to be 22 millimeters, which is less than an inch. Okay. Now I'm working to the specifications similar to a JD Supernatural Classic Series 1 neck. So the neck will be 22 millimeters thick here, going to 25 millimeters thick up near the 17th and 18th here. So I've made these troughs and used my calipers to measure how deep that is now. So I put that measurement in there, and I'm at 25 right there. Actually it's going to go down eventually to like 24. So I'm leaving some material there so that when I sculpt the neck I can blend it in. And this one, sorry, I'm just going to get in your way here probably, is down to 22.5 right now. I'm going to keep it there. Okay, so the next job is just to start using this thing. As you can see, that goes right through really easily. So the neck carve will be carved out, and now I have these two marker points, and what I'll do is, the first thing to do is round off these edges here, and then I'll start blending it in to where the fretboard is. So this is all by hand. I don't use any machines for this at all. I always hand carve the neck, and it takes a little while, but it's handmade and hand carved, and this is actually quite therapeutic, this. So that's what we're going to do next. Awesome. Hey, so we've just begun to carve the neck, and I'll show you how it's kind of done. The Shinto has a fine side and a rough side here, and you can see that. Now, what we do is we've made our two reference points, and I'm going to blend the neck in along its length into these points. and then, you know, once I get nearer the finish, I'll start taking measurements of the neck thickness. But it's just a case of taking the shinto and starting to bevel the neck here so that it starts to come down and blend in to the fretboard here. And of course, after you've done one side, go to the other side. And try to be as even as possible on both sides, so take alternate turns at doing each side. And quite quickly actually the material comes off. You can see there, and that's only been like a couple of minutes really to get that amount of material off. As the neck gets thinner and thinner, you have to be a little more careful though, and keep measuring. So let's continue. Just a quick word about the jig I have here. I have a plank of oak here sitting in the vise, and cloth to protect the fingerboard here, and I have the neck clamped onto the ends of the piece of oak so that it raises it above the surface so that I can get any angle I want in here, and I can even loosen the vise and tilt this up if I need to do some fine work and stuff. So that's the jig, and it works really quite well, I have found. As you can see there, it's starting to get quite near there, and this, we've got a ways to go yet. So that's been about 5 minutes of carving, and coming along nicely. Cool. Alrighty then, we are down to spec at the headpiece here. All we need to do is find sand and shaping around here. So we're down to spec here. Up here, this is actually 21.4 millimeters thick at the middle of the first fret. You can see we've got plenty of meat on there for string tension. We should be good there. Now the neck profile here is more of a C shape, changing to more of a G shape as you go up the neck. This is for speed. This is for speed. You don't want the neck being too rounded off here, because then it cramps speed, because the neck gets of course wider as you go up the fretboard. So it needs to be a little flatter here, and I'm going to take some intermediate measurements in the middle there, and we should have around 24, yes we do, 24. And again, this is getting in the way, hold on. Sure that's 0. Up near the 12th fret here, we're at 23.5. This is bang on. This is very good. So now it's just a case of using the orbital carefully to blend this gouge out here, and then we're going to do a small curve, because I cut a curve in the neck pocket of the body of the Falcon for even easier access to the upper frets. I'm going to cut a curve in here coming out. It's going to be a very unusual neck, but this is a very unusual base. Okay, onwards and upwards. So, all the hard work of the neck carve is done. The neck is now sanded down to 150 grit, which is not bad. It's nice and smooth. Now that allows me to see where I need to sculpt a bit more, just using sandpaper. I'm not going to use anything rougher than that, not even a file. I'm going to use sandpaper, and I'm going to take my time actually doing this. So I get a little piece of sandpaper. I'm now at 220 grit, piece of sandpaper and a pencil eraser. I'm just going to go in there and start smoothing out all these contours that need to smooth out. Okay, be careful. Now, what I do usually is I'll get a flashlight and I will, after so often, hold on, it's over here, go. After every little piece of sanding, I will go in with a flashlight and check the contours. Check that I'm doing the job correctly. And then put different shadows on it and stuff. I'll see nicks and scratches that I did not see before. And then I go from there. And it's just a case of being nice and patient and getting the job done to the best of your ability. And this little system here works. It's worked all the times before I've done a headless neck. I've also done the same with headstocks, although it's a little different. But in order to get everything nice and smooth, the transitions flowing and organic, you go in there by hand and you make the final adjustments in this fashion. So once that's done, I'm going to get this down to maybe 320 grit, and then I'm probably going to use a sealer on it. It doesn't need to be grain filled because it's maple. Very, very tight grain and non-porous wood. A sealer will do the trick, and then it'll be ready for paint. Once I've done the painting and the paint's dried, I will finish the fretboard. Actually, I might even put the frets in first. I might finish the fretboard and put the frets in first, wait for that to dry, right? Then tape it off, then paint it. That's what I'll do. Which is a different way than I usually do it, but I think it's a safer way. I usually finish the back of the neck first and then do the fretboard, but on retrospection, it's probably better if I do it the other way. Alright, so I'll go get on with this and I'll see you in a bit. Okay, ready to prepare the neck now for finishing. You can see the beautiful transitions I've got in there now. All sanded down to 320 grit. Slight imperfection there I'll have to fix. That's not a big deal. That's not a big deal. Yeah, and of course at the first fret here, the thickness of the neck and the fretboard combined is 21 millimeters. Now, by comparison, the JD Supernatural Classic is 21.5, and the Fender P-Bass is around about 22.5, I think, 22.3 or 22. Suffice to say, this is a really thin neck, and it goes all the way up to like the 17th fret where the transition to the heel takes place, and right here it's about 23 millimeters, so it's almost straight, but it feels extremely fast. I mean, I've got small hands, I can easily get my hands round right up here, and then right here as well, as you can see, so it's really easy. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to give the logo here a second polish. I'm going to give it a second polish, and I'm going to mask off all around here while I use my Norton liquid ice and a piece of lint-free cotton, if there is such a thing, and we'll polish that up again, and then we'll use the liquid ice polish remover to clean it up, and we'll get it looking hunky-dory. So that's what I'm going to do next. Brilliant. So, fretboard has had a little sealer on it, tiny little bit, stainable sealer, and to finish the sealing process I'm going to stain the neck. I want this sort of wenge, oh, that's good tension on that neck, man. This is the wenge Indian rosewood type composite neck, which has excellent tonal qualities. And what I'm going to do is, to make the fretboard as starkly contrasted to the body as possible, I'm going to put some ebony stain on it. So here we are, all taped off, ready to go. Now, I'm going to put the stain on. I use some cotton rags for this, just a normal t-shirt material you can buy, like a couple of pounds of this stuff for like $10, and roll it into a nice even pad, like so, and just dip it in your stain, not too much to start with, and let's go over it. Really wipe it in there, and of course I'm going to have to clean up the logo as well. Get excess from where you started. Keep going. Just tiny little dabs of it. You don't need much at all. Okay. And make sure it's even. The side as well. Not need too much at all of this stuff. A tiny touch there. That's too much, so I'll just won't put majority on there. And don't use your family's best towels for this, by the way. Won't be a popular decision at all. Okay, that's fine. Okay, well, that was going to be a problem there, but small. And again, just get it even. And go over it quite briskly, so you know it's getting pressed into the pores, what's left of the pores, and that will seal it up. Now, actually, with a clean rag, you can do the logo here. So I want to bring that into the shot a bit, and look at that standing out now. Of course, the stain won't go into the logo because it's crushed mother of pearl and epoxy, so it won't stain that. Just quickly clean it up. The more I rub there, the more it's going into the wood. Now it's also kind of come off the LEDs, but watch this, right? You think it's come off? Well, there's a clean Q-tip. And just rub this a little bit. Rub that a little bit. Okay, starting to bang in the frets now, and I get these frets from a dealer called CB Gitty. They are jumbo nickel silver fret wire. They're the large frets, which give a great sound for slap bass, I find. And so what I did was I made sure all the depths of the fret slots were good for this tang that we have here. It's not radiused, so it'll be a little difficult to get in. And just push it by hand slightly, and then just tap that down. Right, now I'm going to tap it down. They're not actually properly seated yet. What I usually do is I get a block and go along them after I've put them all in, and that seems to work splendiferously. You know what I mean? So I buy like these lengths so I can cut them to the size I like, and then I go ahead and I just pop them in. Takes a little while, a little knack required, but that's okay. They're very hard wearing, these frets. I like them a lot. Used them on multiple builds, and you know, it doesn't matter if they're not even and stuff. You're not going to play that, for example. You know, they have to be cut down to size, and I knit them to size using my awesome new fret cutters that I got, but not before leveling them properly. So let's see what we've got here. So I'll continue to fret the neck, and don't fret, because I will be back to show you the finished article. Okay, so do not fret. Watch your fingers as well. Okay guys, yes indeed, I'm here, yeah, I'm here. What we've done here is we've got all the frets in, and we have snipped it down, taken off all the jaggy edges, you know, just by taping off the frets. Actually, what I use are these things right here. These are real good for fret dressing. You just put that on there, take your file, shapey-ty, 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 and do that for that side, 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 ad infinitum. So that's how you do it by hand, and I prefer to do it that way because I have control over every single fret that's in there. And when I've been working on the fretboard, I've had to put tape down, and little screw up on my part is I forgot the cure time of the stain, so I lifted some of the stain out, but I can restain it because these frets are going to get newly crowned anyway, so I don't trust getting new frets in and then just putting them in and giving it to a customer. I have to crown them, so I'll crown the frets, and the next thing I'm going to do is, there's bits of tape there and still, I'll sand all this down so that when you're playing the thing you don't rip your hands off, you know. That's a good thing, isn't it? Yes. Oh, incidentally, you might notice this little addition to the back of the headpiece here. It's not a headstock, it's a headpiece. Yes, well, the hip shot system is headless, and the strings come over and through the headpiece and through the back there. So rather than using your wire cutters and gouging pieces out of the wood, I put a protective mother of pearl shield there. Now, yeah, you can damage that too, but they're easily replaced, and I'm going to be making up a bunch of these little things here so that they get placed there, and you go snip, snip, snip. Oh, it's not good. Unscrew the screws and put on a new one if you want, and I'll supply them in a range of colours and it'll be fine. So that's a nice little feature there, isn't it? Yes, I think so anyway. This one's kind of prototype, but it's cool. I'll file that down so it's nice and flush and everything's smooth. So I thought that was quite a little good idea there. Yeah, so next step. The next step is to start levelling the frets and sanding the sides, like I said. Level the frets, crown the frets, polish the frets. I'm going to wait for the polish until I redo the stain on the neck. I'll just stain, 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 polish, 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 paint, 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 paint. I hate paint, by the way. I don't know if I told you. And after that, no, I really do hate paint. I hate it. So yeah, after that, what we're going to do is we're going to laser engrave a little insignia in here, right? And we'll do something with that, and then we'll polish up the logo here, and the neck will be done. And I don't know if you saw on Facebook, but I had a little accident, shall we say, with the body. I'm going to explain that in a piece to camera right now. Okay, cool. Okay, so here's the piece to camera about what happened. not happy. See, the thing about paint is, paint takes time to dry, okay? And you have to keep your piece isolated while it's drying, okay? So I did all this, and I always do that when I paint, and I hate painting. But, you know, this job calls for a good paint job. The problem was, see, I need a solid white to a transparent white burst, or fade. It's actually a fade because it's not a burst, because it's not two colours. It's one colour. It's a fade. I usually do that with lacquer, and lacquer's very easy to work with, nitrocellulose, because it melts into itself every coat that you make, so you can't go wrong with it. It's awesome stuff. And the problem is I couldn't get a translucent white lacquer. I think it's a COVID thing. Used to be able to get it. I can't get it anywhere. So I have a time constraint on this project. So I thought, okay, it's got to be paint. It's got to be paint. I found this beautiful pearl mist white paint, and you know, a straight gloss white. So I thought, okay, I'm going to blend the two in and we'll make a fade. So I did that. The first attempt was okay. I buffed that down, put more coats on, and it was looking spectacular. And locked up the workshop, went to bed, and in the morning when I got up, there was a mosquito on my paint job. On my paint job, man! I can hate mosquitoes. Anyway, so after carefully getting a pair of tweezers and plucking the beast from a pit, it was dead, of course. It was probably drunk out of its tits, but it was dead. And I took it off, and it just left a little leggy behind, you know, a little leggy. Good for him, eh? What the hell use are mosquitoes? They're worse than... No, they're not. Nothing's worse than spiders. They're useless. I'm going to tell you a spider story in a minute as well. So I took the leg out as well, and of course there's a big leg track in the paint. Take your Scotch-Brite, you buff that back down. You take a pin, you spray a little piece of the paint into a tin, little lid, take a pin, and you touch it up, wait till it dries, buff it down, then spray over it again. Gone. Problem solved. Yeah, the spider story, oh my god. Anyone that knows me knows that I'm an utter arachnophobic, right? I mean, worse than Doogie Swindells. And that's saying something, right, Doogie? Anyway, it was very late when it was about 2 in the morning. I was unwinding, and I looked up to my ceiling, and I have a vaulted ceiling. The ceiling's about 18 feet, 20 feet high. And we had a visitor. It's called a wolf spider. You look them up. Look them up. Wolf spider. They're about that size. But it's about just slightly smaller than the size of my hand. So, it was just sitting there. So I had 2 Swift drinks, got out my spider killer spray. There's a big gun on it, and I went, right? I went right up to it, because it was, I got a ladder and everything. I went right up to it and sprayed it. It dropped. You heard it hit the floor. That's how big this fucking thing was. It hit, you heard it go off the floor. Oh my god. I thought I was going to pass away. Anyway. Enough of my troubles, and let's go on, let's go on to the next. I just wanted to show you how exciting it is to be a luthier, you know. It's a very sexy job, you know. I thought. Anyway, so on to the next. Let's get on with the neck. Cheers. Well, that's it for this part. glad you could join me. It was a topsy-turvy week this week. Awful stuff going on. Awful stuff. But we recovered and we're back on track. We're about 4 or 5 days late right now, but I can probably make that up. So, next episode should see the completion of this bass. Electronics tested, play tested, structurally tested. Let's hope anyway. That's what I'm hoping for. So, until the next time, stay safe, be good, and catch you later. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.